What I get mad about is I don't remember Grandpa at all. Not a thing. I can't even imagine what he looked like. My dad never had any pictures around and never talked about him. Neither did Grandma. I don't know anything. Nothing. I was 3.5 years old when he died.
Dad, I need to use the bathroom. My grandfather, William Loyd Curry, was born on Christmas, December 25th, 1915. He was the third child of Lemuel, or Lemmy, Curry, and Ethel A. Broad. He was called Bill. Lemmy and Ethel had 6 children: Fred, George, Bill, Charles, called Cello, Ralph, called Sonny, and Isabel, Izzy. Between 1920 and 1930, the Currys moved to Toledo, Ohio, from Indiana, Pennsylvania, because they needed work, and were invited by Ethel's sister Ruth, who told them they could find jobs there. On April 27, 1938, Bill married Laura Ellen Denelda D. Barney in Angola, Indiana, although they both lived in Toledo. He was 22 and she was 21. They had 6 children. William Edward, Patricia, also called Pat, sometimes Patty, my mother, Lana, William Loyd Jr., called Bill, Philip, called Phil, and Cheryl. William Loyd Curry passed away from amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, on November 6, 2017. He was 74 years old. I had all my children in the hospital. My first baby was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck. It was a hard delivery. It hurt a lot. They put me to sleep for 3 days. When I woke up, I was alone in the hospital room. It was dark. I called, Bill! Bill! I had a funny feeling about all this, and I couldn't remember anything. Bill! Bill! When he didn't come, I called, Mom! Mom! My mom was with me when I went to the hospital. Finally, a nurse came. I don't remember who told me about my baby, but I do remember that we named him William Edward. My dad didn't make a living playing cards. He just played cards. But he played for money. There was a pool hall about a mile from our house with a back room. He was there all the time, playing cards. He had jobs. He worked at Urban Grotto Fuel, delivering coal in a green truck. Oh, he hated that job. He also worked for Casco Dog Food. It was over on Seaman Road near Hecky's Pond. My kids loved those little bullet pencils he used to have as promotional items. A I helped him. We do rugs too, but we didn't have steam cleaners like you have today. Instead, we had this contraption that had a big, heavy brush on the bottom, and this little tank you put the cleaning fluid in. Then you would run it across the carpet. You had to be careful, sometimes it could get away from you. There was a separate vacuum part, separate machine, with a big tank, and then you'd run that over where you just clean the carpet to suck out all the dirty cleaning water. Now, I'm the oldest grandchild, and my memory isn't too good. I mostly remember that friggin' duck. It wasn't Grandpa's. Boyfriend Ben Cheryl's gave it to her. When Grandpa was outside in the yard, watering flowers or working in his garden, it would follow him around. It loved him. It hated me. When I was 3 or 4, I would help him sometimes in the garden. He had 4 o'clocks and peonies. I would help him plant the 4 o'clock seeds. They were these tiny little black pellets, kind of like rabbit turds. And he'd dig the hole and I'd put the seeds in. He also grew rhubarb and tomatoes. When the rhubarb was in season, there was a lot of it. Grandma made rhubarb sauce and strawberry and rhubarb pie. Grandma also made fantastic lemon meringue pie. Oh, and her special raisin-filled cookies. Oh, everyone loved them. Yeah, it's not a making some. The duck. That friggin' duck! It used to chase me around the yard and bite me. One time he came to my house. Jeff was about 3, Jerry was just a baby. And he said, I hope you're ready. And he put on a white glove to do a white glove test to see if my house was as clean as my mom's. He didn't think it would be. It was. Dad was an MP in the Army. He served at the end, he was called up at the end of World War II, March 1945. Ma, Pat, Lana, and Bill all went to live with Grandpa Barney, my mom's dad, and her stepmother, Zerma. His name was Martin. My Grandma Barney, I never knew her. Her name was Fanny. She died in a car accident in 1941. Okay. The Army sent Dad to the Philippines, but he wasn't there for very long. The war ended in September of 1945. We had these Monopoly games. He made all of us play, everyone in the family. He was always the banker, and he always had money. I don't know how he did that. And he always won. We all knew he cheated. My mom made a lot of fudge. We all liked it. Dad really liked it. He always had his own. And he told us we couldn't have any. Well, sometimes he would give us some. And he liked this bridge mix. It was a bunch of assortment of nuts coated in chocolate. Almonds, hazelnuts, walnuts, peanuts, and toffee. Oh, malted milk balls. And raisins. He ate it by the handfuls. My dad was a great bowler. Mom was a good bowler too. They were in a couples league together. He was also in a men's league. He was in a lot of tournaments, and he had all kinds of trophies. At least once they went to Florida where he was in a tournament. Got a trophy for that. Grandpa used to cut our hair. Hated it. I think we all did. We were the 3 oldest grandchildren, all boys. First my successive cousin would go from bassinet to a regular high chair to this special high chair. If we outgrew it or were pushed out of it by the next younger grandchild, and we still weren't tall enough to reach the table, then we sat alone. It seemed a lot lighter when I was a kid, and sometimes two of us sat in it, and of course, we fought over it. For the haircuts, Grandpa would put a sheet around our neck and tuck it into our back collar. We did this either on the kitchen or the back porch. If we were in the kitchen, there were newspaper around, so the hair wouldn't get on Grandma's linoleum, which she kept so clean, it shone. He always used trimmers, never scissors, and you know, bzz, 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 buzz cut. He could have some mercy on us, though, and leave a string of bangs across the front. He called it a squirrel tail. One time, he put a bowl on your head and tried to cut around it. I told him, you can't put a bowl on his head and cut his hair. I don't think he understood what a bowl cut was, or he was just teasing. I finished school at the end of 6th grade and went to work to help support my family. I worked mostly in factories. I saved and saved $200. That was a lot of money back then. Bill knew about it. We had plans. Then a couple days before we got married, my dad took the money and bought himself a new car. Bill and I were talking, and I told him my dad took the money. And he said, well, what am I marrying you for? I was marrying you for your money. He was just kidding, I think. Well, we still got married. My dad wasn't good to my mom. She hired a private detective because she thought he was cheating. I have the documents. One time, she was walking home from work and I was with her. She had to work because, you know, he wasn't a great breadwinner and she needed the money. We were about halfway home when he came up to us in that green truck. He said he needed money to play cards. She said she needed it to pay the bills, but he still wanted some. He got some. He also took money from her purse. I think that's the main reason she hid money around the house, so she would have some in case she needed it. Dad would take us on drives out in the country when it was hot, and then we'd all have ice cream. It was raining really hard and cold. Ma worked across the street from the pool hall where Dad played cards. After she got off work, I was with her, and she went to ask him if he would drive her home, so she wouldn't have to walk home in the downpour. We walked around the pool hall, I don't know why. It was easier, you didn't want to go through it, I was in the rain, I don't know. He told her no. He was too busy playing cards to drive her home. So, we walked. In the rain. All the way home. At least a mile. My dad loved baseball. He was good at it. He told us that he was a pitcher in a semi-pro league before he and Ma had kids. Sometimes he would take a group of us, kids and adults, cousins, uncles, neighbors even, to the park down the street, and we'd play baseball all afternoon. This was on the 4th of July or a Sunday when he wasn't watching baseball on television or playing cards. I don't know how he did that. Dad didn't just watch baseball on television on Sundays. He would have 2 radios going, and so he could watch the game and listen to the 2 others at the same time. Oh my goodness! I just left the house. We all did. Jeff went first. Jerry tried it. And then me. I really didn't want to, but Jeff made me. When Grandma found out, I probably told her. She was mad. Sometimes the fights between Bill and Phil would be so bad that Ma couldn't break them apart. Pat wasn't around now where she was, so it became my responsibility. Go get your dad. So I walked to the pool hall and go to the back door. Time to come home, Ma says. Then I walk him home. There was a horseshoe tournament down the street in the park. Dad wanted to enter. Dad was real good at horseshoes. He could easily match what the other players were doing. He'd pitch if they threw. If they got a ringer, he got a ringer. If they got close, he'd get closer. He was really good at that. This tournament I'm talking about had players from all over the country, pros and semi-pros. They let him enter, and he won. Remember those fights? He got them. He bought them boxing gloves for Christmas. Then he took them out in the backyard and told them to get out and My dad died of pancreatic cancer. When they couldn't do anything more for him in the hospital, they put him in a hospital bed in the dining room at home. I had trouble being there. There wasn't hospice then, just Mom. She did everything for him. She gave him his medication, everything. And he would just scream and say the meanest, nastiest things to her. I couldn't bear it. My grandfather died on Easter, March 28th, 1970. He was 54 years old. My grandfather